Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
Now see, that's the difference between me and you. Forget that I got the money to do it. I got sacks. I can't hardly walk. They're so fucking big. A friend of mine had a vasectomy many years ago, and he decided not to have any anesthetic. Brilliant lawyer. Brilliant lawyer. And there's a 1 chance in 50 that something can go wrong. It went wrong. And his balls blew up like cantaloupes. But he can't, and I mean, you can get special shoes that tilt out so you can, I said, Jay, and he was wearing big boy pants, big pants. Mark, something wrong with you? So, and I said, Jesus Christ. I said, but everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. The girls in the office laughed. He couldn't walk. And I said, why don't you just stay home? Oh, thank you. Why don't you just stay home? No. But for a brain surgery, it's a 1 in 5 shot. And the first surgery was going to be the easiest. Then the next, and the deeper you go into the brain, the more risk there is. That's the difference between me and you. Just like when I was going to do the exorcism. I practiced and I went down to see, as God would have it, the 2 leading exorcist priests in the Catholic Church are both in Manila. One's about 75, 80, and one guy was a young kid, 35, 40. And Father Mateo, God rest his soul, I go out to the seminary, and my nuns, my warrior nuns are taking me out there. And they spent almost all day trying to convince me not to do the exorcism. I had practiced because in an exorcism, one person can be a lay person. In other words, and he's just saying, bless you, Father, for I have sinned. And then the priests are doing their shit, right? And the Father Mateo spends 2-3 hours with me. And then he brings me in 3 priests that all looked about as old as the old Persian guy back in the corner. And they were in their early 30s, mid-30s, but they looked like him. Eyes sunken back in their head, skin drawn, white. And I spent about 45, 50 minutes with each one. And they begged me not to do it. They showed me a picture, what they looked like in the seminary. And look at me now. Just got me more fired up. Made my dick stiffer. Third guy, and they all walk like they've got arthritis. That's what it has. And Father Mateo, who's about 75, 80, and they said that, they show me, well, of course, it's 50 years he's been a priest. So his seminary picture, yeah, but these guys that just got out of the seminary 4 or 5 years ago. But this is the kind of shit I do. And then Father Mateo got called back to Rome. And he never came back, and he died there. And the young exorcism priest wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it with me. He said, I'm not going to talk to you about it, Mr. Peña. It's crazy. I don't want to be associated with, because he says, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong in exorcism, believe me. It's not 1 in 5. 1 in 100 you make. The other one, and so anyway. I was fucking fired up. God! About 2.5 years I was fired up. And the guys, first of all, questions about, the guy that did all those deals was sitting right there in front of Andres. And we're fact checking, but it looks like he's broken 8 or 9 different records. 9 months, quickest from the seminar. 600 or 700 million. 100 million in EBITDA. Fuck! Are you fucking shitting me? Mesa, Arizona. There's nothing in Mesa, Arizona. Nothing. So by the next seminar, which is next one, we will have fact-checked this shit. But he's a pretty straight guy. And he's got a QLA license plate. All these assholes that get QLA license plates piss me off because for whatever reason, I haven't been able to get one. But getting back to Andreas, questions about Andreas. Comments. And now he's up to 27 deals. And we're about the 90 or 100 million value, of which he has 62%. And we've only had 2 face-to-face board meetings. The one that we showed the picture of, and then one about a month ago in Frankfurt. And but he's he's a hard-working kid. I guess he's about 37 now, ish, something like that. But just because they did it doesn't mean, say, like there's I always wonder why when you see these commercials on the television that show about day trading and commodity trading, and then in the footnote, 62% of all transactions ended in a loss, 78% of all transactions. You seen those? Okay. Am I the only one that reads the footnote? Why would you engage in something that, roughly speaking, 75% you got a 75% chance of losing? Because you can't help yourself. To date, they don't have that for commodities yet. For bitfucks yet. Because they're not legislated. When that comes out, my guess is that over 95% of trades in Bitcoin or whatever they're called ends in loss. That's my guess. 95%. Why would you, why? Yeah.
Because people want something for nothing. Like you can get rich quick, but you can't get rich easy.
Well, no, it's not that, if only 5% are getting rich or have the potential of getting rich because only 5% of the transactions end in a gain, that's like playing Russian roulette with more than one bullet. 5 bullets in the motherfucking gun instead of 1. Everybody knows Russian roulette and you spin the, okay. It's just, and when the SEC and the other regulatory, and whoever made you put it in the footnote, first came out 20, 25 years ago, they thought that it was going to just draw, the industries, commodity, et cetera, industries, fought it tooth and fucking nail. They didn't want it to happen. And it had just the opposite effect. Because your parents were losers, your parents never made any money, and so why in the fuck should you? And you have no idea. The subconscious is a wonderful thing in a lot of ways. But if all your life you've seen loser activities, and you've had the benchmarks that you've had around you are losers, you probably, maybe until you filled out the paperwork to come here, you never thought of your parents being losers. You never thought of your family, poorness rubs off. We're taught, especially if there's any religion involved whatsoever, love thy neighbor, that kind of shit, But it ain't so. This is not how the planet works. As I said the first night, I think. Who prays the most on the planet? The poor people. How has it worked out for them? We know how it's worked out. Well, some of you come from that poor element. The guy that was sitting where that young lady's sitting when he was talking, if your mother's a whore, your dad's in jail for murder, that was him. Serial criminals, that was him. And he's made a few bucks. For where he comes from, they think that he's, Jesus Christ superstar. Because, everybody is not destitute, but almost destitute. Everybody in his surroundings is destitute. It's like when we are in Los Angeles, and when I went to visit the school, etc., just recently, and if we come to Los Angeles and turn right, my kids say, "Dad, we're not going by the house, are we?" Yeah. Dad, Kelly will say, "I decided to have rich parents. I'm not interested, Dad." But I've been taking them there since they're this big. They hate it. Then they didn't argue with me because when they're 3, 5, 8, they didn't. But now we're adults. I mean, I don't give a fuck what you are. Get out of the fucking car, then walk back to the hotel. But they don't want to know. They don't want to know. Not even though the Marilyn Monroe went to my school 19 years before I was there, But you see, you don't know how that is in your genes. You don't understand. Now, to the extent when the blacks say we've had 400 years of suppression, that's all true. You don't get rid of that shit overnight, over one generation, 2 generations. It's got to be another motherfucking 400 years. So I understand that, on an anthropological, basis and all that. But it's not much different than, where most of you came from. And that's why, if you don't immerse yourself in this, and that's why I tell you, this is not a networking deal. If I find out that you're calling each other, I can't stop you from it. But I mean, when you're, a year from now, when your back's against the wall and you're about to drown, and you call Kim, and I look down my list, I'm out. I don't care if you drowned in your own blood in front of your kids. That's my, not revenge, but that's my default for you. You didn't listen? I'm not going to help you. We've got 2 very successful guys in Adelaide. They have never met each other. Superstars. They live 2.5 miles from one another. Slight exaggeration. They join different clubs, different tennis clubs, because someday one of them is going to need me. Just like I took a shit this morning. And they know I'll know. The last one that came to the hardcore last December, he said, "I really like to see him, but I know better." I mean, I'm a hard guy. And at this stage today, now that Peter's gone, I mean, I wouldn't, if you were on fire, if the devil made your face on fire, I wouldn't piss on it. During the hardcore, before the corona, Brian Rose attended. And he never believed that people had seizures, shit their pants, pissed themselves before. And like the 2 seats in the back there, but it was in the other room. Brian sitting in the corner and the guy sitting there, but they were close. This is before the spacing shit. And he had a seizure and went into convulsions and fell over on Brian and threw up all over him. And I mean, he's getting his suits from my tailor now. So I know they're not cheap. And we had 3 doctors in the room. Not one doctor went over to help the guy. We had 2 practical nurses. And then 5 said, "Okay, you go help." And I said, "But don't do it." So the only thing they did is pull his tongue out so he didn't choke. So the ambulance it's 999 here. I don't give a fuck if you die. Now see, when I say I don't care about you, I fucking mean it. I couldn't give a shit less about anybody in this room till you put up some fucking numbers. So don't be fucking calling me, because I don't give a fuck. And when you're chairman, you find out your chairman's having a meeting that you don't know about, It's your fault because of lack of leadership. Because I told you what to do, and you didn't do it. Or you didn't do it right. Either way, whether you did it or you didn't do it, it's your fucking fault. It's not my fucking fault. And when they take you to, Kat, remember the letter from the guy that he writes a letter and they took his business away and they bankrupted him? Oh, I can't find it in the slides. They took everything from him. They left him for fucking dead. And I told him what was going to happen. And it didn't happen. And then when he's dead, comatose, then he wants help, which I didn't give. Find that, you know which one I'm talking about. Okay. I couldn't find it. I was all excited this morning. Oh, I'm going to start with that one. I got 1,000 of them. The worst answer they gave is, I didn't take it serious. I thought you were exaggerating. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of melodrama up here. I agree. Those tears are real, though, for me. Those aren't fake tears, because I feel so fucking sorry for you. The dead bodies, you like the dead bodies, didn't you? Oh, don't touch them, don't touch them. I looked in his eyes, oh, God damn you. That's you. And that's just the way it is. This program is not for everybody. And you know who you can blame. You know you can blame. All that nourishing shit you got, it's too bad. It's too bad. How's it worked out so far? It hasn't. It hasn't. We all had what it took, and then we got civilized. Just like the Brits, 2/3 of the planet, they ruled with gunboat diplomacy. And then the other, Spain and Portugal, and they split up the other third. And they just, took it. Not dissimilar to what Mr. Putin's doing now. He's 400 or 500 years late in timeline. But I can't imagine how we're going to hold him accountable. I hope to fucking Christ we do. But I know better than that. Did you hear when President Biden told a news conference 3 days ago that if China invaded Taiwan, we were going to stand up for Taiwan? And then what happened? 3 hours later, the State Department walked it back. We're going to go to the war for Taiwan like I'm going to cut my dick off in front of the stage. Are you kidding me? Taiwan? Fuck, I'm going to get an aneurysm myself. I'm going to scream so loud. Forget about it. What are you smoking? It's not that we have a not a contract, but like we have with NATO, whatever that thing is we have with Taiwan. We got some sort of agreement, right? You think anybody's going to go die for Taiwan? After all the cheap fucking shit they sent us and we bought in the 80s and 90s? What's wrong with you people? Jesus Christ. Am I the only one that's got any fucking, and common sense isn't common. It's just common. I'm not saying it's, but these people talk shit. Talk shit. But Andreas is somebody, if there's anybody that you're going to see, he's a model. The next guy you're going to see is Marcus Bauer, who, he might cut your Adam's apple and fuck you in the Adam's apple. I wouldn't piss on your face, but he might fuck you in the throat. And the guys are going to start getting tougher. You start for the wusses, rich wusses. Someone's got to grow a pair of sacks, not for the bad vasectomy my ex-partner got, but somebody's got to grow some sacks. Somebody. Normally in the big corporations, it's the in-house general lawyer and the CFO normally are the guys, the two toughies. And they're not playing bad cop, good cop. They're just both bad cop. And normally the big firms have 2 or 3 law firms. One of the law firms is the hatchet firm. They go in to, fuck things up. And then there's another firm that goes in and fixes things. And then there's another firm that does the deals. But it's rarely the same firm. Rarely the same firm. And it's quite remarkable when, and currently at the universities, they're teaching all the wrong shit. But they've been teaching all the wrong shit for 40, 50, 60 years. They haven't been, arguably, not since Benjamin Franklin founded the University of Pennsylvania in 1743, when they actually taught you shit that you go out and use. And the Ivy League schools are all ministerial schools, Bible thumping schools. And then they pivoted over the years because Bible thumping became less and less of an operative occupation. But I mean, I believe 11 of the 13 people that signed the Declaration of Independence were all preachers. And who was one of the preachers that signed the Declaration of Independence? Bruce the Whipple's great-great-great-great-grandfather signed the Declaration of Independence. Bruce the Whipple. And as he would say, if he was saying, how's my program worked out? I mean, vis-a-vis, being a preacher man. But there's 2 methodologies. And when we talk about sales tomorrow, I mean, there's the hammer. I mean, and 3 or 4 of you in this room are too old to be finesse sellers. One man's opinion. 3 or 4 of you are just too fucking old. During the 1973 oil embargo, I had one of the first cell phones in a car in Los Angeles at my office there. And I'm going to the office about 3:45 in the morning. And I had it on the old time, a speakerphone, okay? And there was only 10 or 12 or 15 lines. They were party lines in those days. And a pimp in South Central LA is calling one of his girls from someplace. And he wants her up at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel. And he's, and the girl, she says, are you buying my gasoline? And in essence, he says, no. You black bitch, stupid bitch, blah, blah, blah. He said, I worked too fucking hard for my money to go up for that skinny dick John at the Beverly Wilshire was, BW Hotel. And I mean, I can remember that. I mean, and every time Sally and I stayed at the Beverly Wilshire, we have a suite there. And I mean, but every time I walk in the lobby, I think of that girl that was telling her pimp, I worked too fucking hard for my money. And of course, most of you have never experienced gas lines, okay? Where you queue up because there's no gasoline. But if the government fucks it up, we're going to have gas lines again. Okay, thank you.